This Saturday marks Juneteenth, a holiday commemorating the day news of the Emancipation Proclamation finally reached those still enslaved in Texas.
And as the nation honors that day, a local effort to save a home that played a very important role in helping African Americans find freedom is finally coming to fruition. Devin Skillian joins us right now with that story. Devin?
It is quite a story, guys. It's been several decades long effort to save this piece of local history and pay tribute to the family that once called it home. It harkens back to the days of slavery and suffrage and people willing to risk it all to help end the suffering of others. And now, after so many years of stops and starts, the project is that much closer to becoming reality. It's a big day for the Foster farmhouse. New windows and a new door are being installed. Just the latest stop on a long journey to bring the 188-year-old Walled Lake landmark back to life.
There's a lot of significant history with this building, and if that goes away, people will forget.
Jerry Millen owns the greenhouse located just across the park.
I had no idea that I was, a stone's throw away from a former Underground Railroad location, and more especially where a family, took in runaway slaves back in the day and tried to help them with their path to freedom, and that was the Banks family.
The Banks family, headed by freeborn Henry and Amanda Bassett Banks. They built the home in 1833 and lived there with their 6 children. But under the cover of darkness, the Banks family offered safe harbor for slaves escaping to freedom, a place to rest, eat, and get money to continue on to Canada. The Banks were also raising a trailblazer. Their daughter, Sarah Gertrude Banks, would become one of the first women to graduate from the University of Michigan Medical School in 1873.
I wish I could tell you that they were well treated. They were not.
Dr. Joel Howe has written extensively about the first women admitted to the Michigan Medical School.
They had to be very strong, and they were very strong. Even though faculty thought they shouldn't be there, some faculty did, the women actually got better grades than the men, so they did better.
Dr. Sarah Banks went on to a lengthy and remarkable career. She would become just the second female physician in the city of Detroit, caring for many prominent families, including Clara Ford, but also for the poorest women and children of the city.
But taking care of the poor, taking care of marginalized members of society was not commonly done. And those who did it generally didn't tend to take care of a lot of other people.
Banks also established the first supervised free playground for children in Detroit. She was friends with Susan B. Anthony and fought alongside her for the right for women to vote.
It was a wonderful example of somebody who was standing up not only for herself, but for lots of other people. But she had the courage of her convictions, and I think she deserves a lot of credit for that.
It's the Banks family's courage and convictions that have inspired those trying to save the Foster farmhouse. Efforts to preserve it date back to the 1970s. But in the 90s, a new condo development threatened its destruction. The Friends of the Foster farmhouse raised enough money to move the home to its current location, but struggled to find money to make much-needed repairs and renovations. Jerry Millen hopes to help finally push the efforts across the finish line.
I'm probably about $10,000 in. When I'm all done, who knows?
It's worth it, he says, to bring the house and its stories back to life.
For future generations and for kids to come in to see what it was like and understand the importance of the history, because if it goes away, the history goes away. So I think it's important to help keep this house restored as best we can for as long as we can so kids can learn.
The first room of the farmhouse is going to be open for tours at the Walled Lake Beach Party coming up this Saturday, and Millen is hoping more local contractors and restoration companies will step forward to contribute their talents and their materials to help finish the home. And we put details on how to help inside this story on clickondetroit.com. One quick aside, we've learned Dr. Sarah Gertrude Banks is not currently in the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame, and her supporters believe that is an oversight that needs to be corrected.